extremely excited to present our RetireWise Women in Investing training for you. If you are interested in being the first to know about any upcoming events or events such as this, please make sure you go to dishwomensnetwork.com to become a member. But right now, I'm going to hand it over to John Kellner. He's been doing training for about 8 years on this, and we're excited to have him, but I'm going to let him go ahead and take over. Thank you.
Volume works. I'm loud as it is, so this scares me. So if I am too loud or not loud enough, let me know. It's usually too loud. Lacey, thank you for the introduction, and I'd also like to thank Lacey and Grace for putting this on and putting this together. There's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes in coordinating schedules and coordinating with MetLife and MassMutual and myself to bring this here today. So thank you, and we'll go ahead and get started. So a little bit about myself. I've been a financial advisor for 15 and a half years now, and I started with MetLife. And what you're going to notice today that this is a MetLife program. I've been running the RetireWise portion of this for the last 8 years. You're also going to notice on my profile that I mentioned that I work for MassMutual, and I clear through a firm called Centennial State Financial. So what that means is that back in 2016, MetLife sold me, or sold all of their MetLife advisors to MassMutual. They never told me how much they got for me. So that was an interesting kind of dynamic. And in that selling agreement, MetLife has allowed MassMutual advisors to continue the MetLife RetireWise programs. So I'm happy to bring that to you today. I live in Littleton, married with 3 children, 11, 8, and 3, 2 daughters. So they've given me a little bit of courage to get in front of 42 women today. But yes, they keep me busy, and again, happy to be here. So today we are going to talk about women and investing, or planning your financial journey. And today is in a group setting, obviously. You are going to have the opportunity at the end of the session today to sign up for a personal consultation with myself. And that's where we can take maybe some of your thoughts and your questions a step further. If you'd like to sign up for that, you can put your personal contact information in the evaluation form. If you don't put your information in there, that's okay. I would still ask you to fill out the evaluation form for me, because I do get those back to MetLife, so we can make these better and as worthwhile as we can. This being said, I have plenty of slides to go through today in our 1 hour that is allotted. I want you all to get as much out of this as you can. So if you have some questions, or you have a specific question that you want to address and it's pertinent to the slides we're going through, please raise your hand, and those remotely, if you can let someone know. If you do have a question, I would like for you to ask it so we can stop and address that, and you can walk out of here hopefully getting some questions answered. Today's agenda, the changing face of women. We'll talk about some financial planning basics you should know. Talk a little bit about our financial journeys in our 20s and 30s, 40s and 50s, 60s and 70s. We'll talk about 3 women at different financial crossroads, and then talk about some next steps that you can take with you out the door. So talk a little bit about today's women. Staying single. In 1960, the average marrying age was 20 years old. In 1980, it was 22. And today, the average marrying age is up to 27. During their working years, and likely beyond, women are solely responsible for their finances. So we're seeing that more and more, where women are becoming the sole financial responsibility. Today's women have higher educations. In the workplace, are more likely to have at least a bachelor's degree, have graduated from U.S. colleges with bachelor's degree in every year since 1982, and now account for almost half of students in law, medical, and business administration graduate programs. In the 60s, women accounted for just 10%. So women are advancing themselves every year. Pursuing careers. Women represented 50% of all workers in management, professional, and related fields, 45% of biological scientists, 33% of web developers, 34% of physicians and surgeons, and 60% accountants and auditors. Who would have thought? Since 2007, the number of women-owned firms increased by 59% compared to 12% for all businesses. It is estimated that there are over 12.3 million women-owned businesses in the United States, 40% of all businesses in the country. I thought that was a pretty good number. Total employment by women-owned businesses rose 21%, while for all businesses declined almost 1%. Women are taking charge of their financial future. 51% of women deem themselves the CFO of their households. It's an important thing. With 54% saying they have complete or a great deal of responsibility for managing household long-term savings and investments. This is from U.S. News and World Report. 41% of women said that they make their financial decisions alone, and 37% considered themselves the primary manager of finances in their households. Just by a show of hands, who would consider themselves the financial guru in their household currently? Well, compared to your partner or spouse, we'll say. So about half, right? And I think part of the challenge with some of this is that we've seen that increase in women taking on the financial responsibility role. What I've found in 15 years of being a financial advisor is it seems that women are more hesitant to come to someone like myself as an advisor for help. Whereas the men, they're like, here, John, just do it for me. Women seem a little less apt to approach a financial advisor, and that's from LIMRA. We've found some of those numbers. Women are taking charge of their financial future. When it comes to money, 77% of women say they see money in terms of what it can do for their families. The majority of women, 84%, say that understanding their finances is a key to greater career flexibility. Makes sense. Women understand that greater financial knowledge can help create more security in life. So some investment basics that we're going to talk about this afternoon. We break investments down into three categories: cash, bonds, and stocks. Having the right allocation for you. Asset allocation is the foundation for all your investment activities. Diversify and spread your investments over asset classes such as stocks, bonds, and cash. Who's heard the term, I have a diversified portfolio? Who wonders what the heck that means? There's one back there, right? A diversified portfolio is making sure that you have the right percentages of the different types of investments between cash, stocks, and bonds. And what I've done for you in one of your handouts, there's this pie chart. And this pie chart is an example. Notice how I put example only. I can't give financial advice while I'm up here. This is an example of a moderately invested portfolio, diversified using your 401k investment selections here at DISH. And this would be for someone or an investor that's risk tolerance was moderate. And a moderate risk tolerance tells us that we'll use 60% equities or 60% stocks. Equity is another word for stock because we own equity in that company. And 40% bonds or fixed income. So an example of a moderately diversified portfolio using your 401k here at DISH is sitting in front of you with that pie chart. And then you'll notice I've taken it a step further and I've given you the percentages that I would recommend in an example for a moderate portfolio using your 401k investment choices. Notice how there's 0% cash. Right? When you're a moderate investor, a moderate to aggressive investor, or an aggressive investor, you should not have any of your money invested in cash. Why is that? Right? So if I'm an aggressive investor, that usually means that I have a longer time period until I need to use the money. I can be more aggressive with it. So I can put more of my money into stocks and bonds, because over the long term, stocks and bonds will earn a higher rate of return than cash. What's a good rate of return on cash right now? 0? 0.5% if we're lucky? What's a moderate or conservative rate of return on bonds? 2, 3? So a moderate portfolio, we don't want to have any cash. Now, if you're a conservative investor, we recommend having some cash on hand. A conservative investor usually means that they need to use that money sooner rather than later, or sooner than the aggressive investor. So I need to have some money in cash so it's ready for me to be able to spend or use an income, and I don't want that account to lose any value. Bonds and stocks can still lose value. So if I have a shorter term horizon, I need some money in cash because I don't want to lose my principal, and I need that money readily available to me. So having the appropriate asset allocation and the right mix is extremely important. And if you need some help with how to determine your appropriate risk tolerance, I know a guy you can sign up for a personal consultation, and I'll help you through that process. Some things you should consider when you're determining your asset allocation. Obviously, your risk tolerance. How much risk do you want to take with your investments? Your expected withdrawals. How much money are you going to have to take out of this portfolio or out of this investment? Your time horizon. When are you going to have to take out these distributions? And then legacy wishes. How much money do you want to leave behind to your spouse, to your kids, to your grandchildren? And 71% of women said that it's extremely important that they leave their financial dependence to someone else in their family. So for most of you in this room, I think legacy wishes is probably going to be pretty important. So let's talk a little bit about your 401k here at DISH, or your retirement savings plan. There's a saying out there that you should pay yourself first. Very simple financial basic to know. What does that mean, pay yourself first? What's a way we can pay ourselves first, I should ask? Contribute to your 401k plan here at DISH. And I'm being a little bit facetious, but we earn our wages, and the first thing that comes out of our paycheck, the first thing that comes out of our paycheck is our contribution to our 401ks. And then tax. You got Social Security and some other stuff in there too, but retirement savings is one of the best and easiest ways that you can pay yourself first. Let's talk a little bit about your 401k being a tax-deferred account. So what that means is you earn your wages, you contribute to your traditional 401k plan, you put money into it, and you use MyPie or whatever, and you put it into these different investments inside of your 401k, and it grows for you over time. And then you get to your retirement age, and what happens? You start to take the money out, right? You start to spend the money. You start to take withdrawals. What happens at that point tax-wise? You pay taxes on it. We got to pay the piper. We have to pay Uncle Sam ordinary income taxes on those withdrawals from our 401k. So your 401k is considered a tax-deferred investment. We're deferring the taxes. We're going to pay someone later, Uncle Sam. You also have available to you a Roth 401k. Does anyone know what a Roth 401k means or does for us? Okay. Say that again?
Take out the taxes now so you don't have to pay it when it's grown.
Perfect. Your Roth 401k is a tax-free account. I should say that again. Your Roth 401k is a tax-free account. And what that means is we earn our wages. They take out taxes, they take out Social Security, they take out all our health insurance, group benefits, all of that. And then we still have money left out of our paycheck, and we contribute to our Roth 401k. Now we get it in the same investments as our traditional 401k. It grows for us. We get to retirement and we take the money out. 100% income tax free. A couple stipulations there. You have to have owned it for 5 years, and you have to be over the age of 59 and a half. And you can take every single penny out of that account income tax free. All together now, income tax, right? So, this doesn't get too in-depth on taxes, but where would you guys all say we are right now as far as our ordinary income tax brackets? Low or high? Low. Historically low. Some of the lowest income tax brackets we've ever seen in history. So my thought process, without giving you financial advice up here, is if I can pay taxes on a lower rate now, my Roth 401k, why don't I go ahead and do that and get it into my Roth 401k that's going to grow tax-free for me, and I can take that out income tax-free, and my future retired self will like me.
I think I can guess, but rather than doing that, what's the incentive for the government to allow Roth 401ks?
Great question. So the way I kind of think of this or remember this, if I'm the IRS, I'm Mr. Uncle Sam, I'm Mr. IRS, and I have an account that I can collect my taxes on now or one later, which one do you think Mr. IRS would say? Now. They want to collect their income taxes now. So they love the Roth because they're collecting their taxes now on it, right? Right. They want it now. And have some of you heard in the news how they might be getting rid of some traditional retirement plans? Some of those traditional retirement plans they're considering getting rid of are the traditional tax-deferred retirement savings vehicles. Because of that fact, they want to start. They don't like the fact that we can contribute money to a traditional 401k, we can lower our taxable income, we can grow tax-deferred when they could just collect their tax money now. And then kind of from a personal philosophy, I hate owing people money. I hate it. If I owe you a nickel, I get you your nickel back. And to me, my traditional 401k has a big IOU on it. In fact, I had a client come into my office one time, this is a couple years ago, and he handed me over his 401k statement. I said, you know you have a tax lien on this. And I thought the guy was going to reach across the table and smack me. I don't know. I don't have a lien on this. What are you talking about? I mean that this is all taxable. Like at some point you're going to have to pay taxes on this account. So my thought process there is have a little bit of both. The traditional 401k is nice because it does help lower your adjusted gross income. You do get some tax benefits to it. But also, if you haven't started the Roth 401k, start your Roth 401k. Because you want to start that 5-year window, if nothing else, to allow your 59-and-a-half-year-old self to be able to take that all out income tax-free. So you want to have a little bit of both.
So it'd be better that I would not start traditional.
Better is a strong word.
Because of the fact that I am planning on retiring in 5 years.
Yeah.
So it'd be better to just stay with, just increase what I'm putting in now and just kind of,
Increase what you're putting into your traditional or to your Roth?
I don't have a lot.
Start a Roth.
That's what I didn't know if that, that time frame would be.
I retired a gentleman, he was 60 years old, and all his money was in a traditional 401k. And we started him a Roth at 60. Because here's another thing you can consider. with a traditional IRA or a traditional 401k, we can't touch the money until we're 59 and a half, or they ding us with a 10% penalty. And then at age 70 and a half, the second Bush administration snuck this one in on us. At 70 and a half, you have to take money out of your traditional IRA or 401k balances, whether you want it or not. It's what's called a required minimum distribution. They're saying, okay, we've given you this tax deferral your whole life. We want to collect our income tax. I'm the IRS guy now again. Or if you're not taking enough out, you got to get up to at least the minimum distribution amount. My friend, the Roth, no such RMD rule. I don't ever have to take money out of there if I don't want to. And where would that play an important part? If I go back here to I can leave this tax-free bucket of money. If I never spend it all, I'll probably spend all mine, but to a spouse or to my children. The minimum distribution requirement works out to be about 3.8% of your total IRA balances, traditional IRA balances. And then that percentage gets a little bit higher each and every year. The IRS wants us all to die with $0 in our IRA accounts. I like how this is progressing. So you can't take, if you have money in your traditional 401k and move it into your Roth 401k. What you can do, and I saw this question submitted online, if you have an old 401k, I think the question is, should I roll over my old 401ks? Yes. I would consider rolling old 401ks or old 403bs or old pension plans into a traditional IRA. That rollover is tax-free. Okay? Then I have this traditional IRA. I can convert my traditional IRA to a Roth. Right? Yep. Sorry, I missed the first part of your example.
So using Debbie as an example,
Yep.
she can't transfer 401k currently into a Roth. If she starts another job somewhere else, let's say,
Yep.
then her 401k here turns into an old one, right?
Correct.
So then that can get transferred to an IRA.
Correct.
To a Roth.
Correct. Yep. Just give me a call, shoot me an email. I'll help you with that. And I do encourage you, if you're going to do that strategy, get professional help. Have an advisor help you, whether it's me or someone else. Have someone help you with that, because there's some boxes that you want to make sure you check correctly that won't adversely affect you. So that conversion, though, be careful with that convert word, because what does that mean? When I go from my traditional IRA, convert it to a Roth IRA, what did I just do? I paid taxes. If I have a $100,000 traditional IRA, I just created a $100,000 taxable income. So you might want to consider converting pieces of it, and that's what I'll do with my clients. I have them bring in their tax returns every year when we do our annual review, if we're exercising conversions, to make sure we don't convert that triggers them into a higher income tax bracket, right? We had a gentleman come through our office about 5 years ago, had about $1.2 million in qualified savings. We talked to him about the conversion process. He said, let's do it. I said, do what? Convert it all. I said, okay. And he converted all of it to the Roth at that point. And he figured with the lower income tax rates that we were at, he said, I feel like now is the best time to do it. And I like that there's no RMD. I want to leave this money behind to my spouse and kids, tax-free. I would encourage it. Usually people will do it in chunks. Are there rules on how much or how often we can do IRA, traditional IRA conversions? No, right? Going back to me being the IRS and Uncle Sam, gimme, gimme, gimme. Convert it whenever you want. I'll collect income taxes as much as I can. As much as I can and as many times as you want to do it. Sorry, but this is good. 401k contribution limits. How much money can you guys put into your 401k plans? As far as a dollar amount. $19,000 a year that you can put money out of your own pocket into your 401k plan. You can put that all into the traditional 401k balance, or you can put that all into the Roth 401k balance, or you can split it however you want. Your matching contributions from DISH have to go into the traditional side. They have to go into the traditional 401k. If you're over 50 years old, there's what's called a catch-up contribution. And I think there was a question in here. Hey, I'm getting to be 51 years old. What should I do? Should I still put money into my 401k? Yes, you should. And you have a catch-up contribution. You can put an additional $6,000 a year if you're over 50. So if you're over 50, you can put in, what's our math there, 25 grand a year into your 401k. How am I doing on time? 12:30, all right. Any questions on your 401k, asset allocation?
You said that the matching contributions have to go into the traditional side and the
Correct. So you could put all of your contributions out of your pocket into the Roth 401k, but the matching portion from DISH has to go into the traditional 401k. Go ahead.
But when you leave DISH, you can move that traditional portion over to the Roth, right?
Yep, but you forgot one step in between. First, you got to move the 401k to a traditional IRA.
You just said it wasn't a traditional.
Okay. So I work here at DISH. I should work here at DISH. I've been here a bunch lately. I work here at DISH. I contribute money to my Roth 401k. DISH matches me. They're putting that match into the traditional 401k, right? I leave DISH. I can roll my traditional 401k to a traditional IRA. I can roll my Roth 401k to a Roth IRA. And then if I want to, I can convert my traditional IRA into my Roth.
What is the difference between 401k and IRA?
Okay, great question. So 401k is, if you were bored enough to read the tax code, which I've done before, not all of it, 401k is just the tax code section, the section of the tax code where the retirement savings accounts are. 401k is your employer-sponsored retirement plan. It's sponsored by DISH. An IRA stands for individual retirement account. It is your individual account. It's separate from DISH. It has nothing to do with your employer or former employer. It's your own individual account. So kind of going back to answer that question, if you have old 401ks or 401ks from former employers, 403Bs is another version of a 401k for teachers and nonprofit organizations. 99% of the time we recommend rolling it over into an IRA. And one of the biggest reasons we do that is because you shift the tax benefits back to you as the individual. When I read the tax code of a 401k, the tax benefits to a 401k plan go to the employer, DISH, and the employee of the active plan. Once you're no longer the employer or the employee of the active plan, you lose some of the tax benefits to it. An IRA, you shift the tax benefits back to you, the individual. So just from a tax umbrella, 99% of the time we recommend getting those old 401ks, 403Bs, retirement plans into an IRA. There can be. be careful with that whole financial advice up here. So you do have the ability to take an old 401k and roll it over into your 401k here at Dish. You can also do that. Absolutely. So see this feedback form. On the back, there's this place you can put your contact information. I'd be happy to talk to you about that offline. So here we go. Any other questions on the 401ks and the IRAs? Because that's a big topic. I think that's really the meat of this presentation, and is important for you guys to walk out of here with some knowledge on that.
For a traditional IRA, you can roll that over to a Roth IRA after 2 years. Is that the same thing with the 401? Like after 2 years, then I could just roll that over?
So the 2-year rule is more along the lines of a SEP IRA. You can take, once you're no longer, you can take your old 401k and move it into an IRA whenever you want.
So after a year of being with Dish, I can take that money and put it in.
I'm sorry, no. This is when you're still an active employee and an active participant of the 401k, it has to stay here. And you want it to stay here. Why do you want it to stay here? Because they're matching, right? That's free money. But after you leave, you take another position, you leave the company, you retire. Now, that's when it's time to consider rolling that over to an IRA. No fee questions. Oh, it's kind of all over the board. I mean, I can tell you if you haven't started or you never have contributed to a Roth 401k, I wouldn't recommend all of a sudden shifting all of it into your Roth 401k, because what's going to happen? Say that louder. Your paycheck goes down. You're going to call me like, John, I can't pay my bills, or whatever, right? So I suggest kind of tiptoeing into the Roth 401k if you haven't done it yet at all. And then if you're like myself, I shifted to all Roth 401k about 5.5 years ago. But I've seen it kind of across the board. Good stuff.
You may be covering this later, right? Or I may have to make some time with you to discuss this. But I'm wondering about a self-directed IRA.
Yep.
And I have an IRA currently.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm wondering how to make it a self-directed IRA, or at least a portion of it. And then from what I understand, I can invest in real estate with that? Is that?
You were my real estate question. Right.
Yeah.
With some self-directed IRAs, yes, you can.
Okay.
But we would want to, that's definitely a one-on-one conversation, because there's some nuances to how we do that. Yeah. All right. Should we go through some of our different age women? So this is 20s and 30s, getting started. What if I turn me into we, have a baby or 2 or 3, buy a house, decide to buy a grown-up car, have an unexpected large health care or other expense, just want to save and invest more, but don't know how or where to start, want to take that vacation without guilt, right? So so our 20s and 30s, we have a lot of different things that can come up. And so we'll get this question sometimes, where do I allocate my money? And should I put money into my 401k first? My answer is that you should start saving for your retirement right now, today. Because when I start to show you some forecasting of how much money we're going to need saved, us people in our 20s and 30s, to have how much money we're going to have saved when we retire, it's 7 figures. I'll just throw it out there. So start saving now, and learn how to live on the paycheck that you earn minus your retirement saving contributions. Oops, sorry, my clicker. There we go. Yeah, maximize your employee benefits. So that's your group benefits, your group health insurance, your group life insurance, your group disability income insurance. Maximize those group benefits. Why do we maximize our group benefits in our 20s and 30s? It's cheap. It's extremely inexpensive for us to get a lot of appropriate coverages that we need. So maximize what DISH will provide. Establish a realistic budget and a few financial goals. Who in here has a budget? Okay, we all should have a budget, some version of a budget. I would suggest that you write your budget down. Take out a piece of paper and a pen or pencil and write down your budget. Write down where your money's going. I know there's a bunch of fancy apps out there and all that different stuff, but there's something to be said about getting out a pen and paper and writing down where all that's going. You'll be surprised at what you learn. Stick to your budget. Start saving. Guard against risk. Review beneficiary designations.
What's a healthy amount of time to write a budget down? Like, that sounds like a lot. When you don't have a lot of time.
You sound like my wife. I have a one-pager that I can get you. Fill out your information and I'll email you this one-pager. And it was simple for my wife Sarah to do. She literally wrote down what she was spending. Now she had to do a little legwork to find out, check her emails for some bills and check her checking account, look at your checking account statement, see what's coming out. An hour, 2 hours, right? Oh, you did it for RetireWise, right? That's the same sheet. Should I pick on Sarah or not? I was deciding if I should do that in front of a class of 42 women. So we did this budget exercise, Sarah and I, my wife, about 8 years ago. And at the time, we kept separate accounts and split bills. And about the third line item down on the budget exercise was cable/internet. And unfortunately, this was cable with your competition. And she writes down like $480. Something crazy. Yeah. I said, Sarah, wow. What are we doing with cable and internet? She goes, I don't know. You told me to do this exercise. I pulled out the email they sent me, and here's what they're taking out of my account. I said, I realize that, but that's really expensive. So long story short, we call up our friends over there at DirecTV. And it turns out that when we had moved to our new house, Sarah was in charge of setting up cable and internet. And at the time, it was free NFL Sunday ticket time. Sarah's like, oh, John will love this. Signed up for NFL Sunday ticket. You know how many times I watched NFL Sunday ticket? 0. Do you know how long we owned NFL Sunday ticket? 4 seasons, 4 years. Because there's this magical little 7-day window where I'm supposed to call up some guy at DirecTV, and turn it off. So that's why I'm a big proponent to getting out a pen and paper and writing it down and find out where your money's going. Poor Sarah. In your 40s and 50s, what if I get divorced? What if I get remarried? What if I want to send my son to that private college? Have a short-term disability that gets a little longer. 1 out of 3 of us in this room will go out on a long-term disability or illness lasting longer than 6 months before we are 65 years old. Right? So I highly encourage all of you to sign up for your group short-term and long-term disability plan here at DISH. Because what happens if you become sick or disabled or are not able to come in and go to work and earn a paycheck? What happens? You can't put money into your 401k anymore. You still got to pay bills, right? And let's say you were contributing your 401k. What happens to your 401k now? It sits idle, and what do we probably have to do? What do we have to do to it if we don't have a paycheck? We got to take it all out. We have to spend it. We have to pay ordinary income taxes on it, and if we're under 59.5, pay a 10% penalty on it. If we have short-term and long-term disability in place, we get up to 80% of our paycheck paid to us. We don't have to go tap into our retirement savings. Sign up for your short-term and long-term disability plans. It's extremely important. It's income replacement. It's retirement savings protection. Want to retire early, so that's your catch-up contributions. Not sure how to make better investment decisions. Work with a professional. Right? Review your 401k balances. Look at them. Look at your statements. So the first challenge is making sure you're contributing, right? Get signed up. The second challenge is look at it. Look at your statements. Make sure you understand where your money's going, where it's being invested. Need a new roof and a new car. That goes back to that protection piece. Make sure you have the appropriate homeowner's insurance, the appropriate auto insurance coverages. Protection is a big piece, and sometimes that's hard for people to grasp. Protection is a huge piece in retirement savings. Because if you have an unforeseen illness, an unforeseen disability, if you're have a large family and there's a premature death, that wipes out most retirement plans. So protection is an extremely important piece. Some of the new challenges we're seeing with 40s and 50s are kind of considered the sandwich generation. And what that means is we have adult children that may or may not be coming back into the household. We have aging parents that now we are caring for, and those 40s, 50s, and early 60s are considered that sandwich generation. That can also put a high stress level on your retirement plan. Estate considerations, and now we start doing some pre-retirement planning. And we go over a lot of this in our RetireWise workshops. But have a plan about your retirement. And what I mean by that is have a vision of your retirement. And again, I encourage you to sit down with a pen and paper, pencil and paper. Sit down with your spouse, your partner, and write how you envision your retirement. Things like, who are you going to spend your time with? Where are you going to live? What are you going to do? We're living almost 30 years in retirement. What are you going to do for 30 years? I tell the men there's only so much golf and fish you can play and catch. Right? And why is that important? Why do we need to envision our retirement? Or at least important to a financial advisor. Why? Right? As an advisor, I got to figure out how much your retirement's going to cost because it's going to be different from yours. And you also find out some interesting things about your spouse or partner, because their envisionment of retirement usually is quite different. I've found that to be true as well. So in your 40s and 50s, you know that's a good time to consolidate your accounts, take advantage of those catch-up provisions we talked about, investigate additional income sources, reallocate and rebalance as needed. I'll talk on this in a minute. Review your insurance. Reallocate and rebalance. Who's heard that terminology as far as investing goes? Reallocate, rebalance. So what that means, and this really goes for everybody, that's not just people in their 40s and 50s, but let's say you took my example and you went out and invested your 401k here at Dish in a moderate portfolio. And we have a good year in the stock market, and that 60% equities at the end of the year has now grown to 80%. And what we know about financial markets, when stock markets rise, what happens to bond markets? They usually don't do as well. So my bond portion is now only 20%. What have I become as an investor now? I was 60-40, now I'm 80-20. I'm someone I'm not. I'm invested more aggressively than I'm comfortable with. So you want to rebalance your 401k. By rebalancing your 401k, you're going to move your 80% equities back to 60% equities. And what did I just do there? I sold my investments high. And then I'm going to buy up 20% of my fixed income and bonds portion to back to my original 40% allocation. And what I just do here, I bought low. But common people make the mistake of doing the exact opposite with their investments. They buy high. Hey, did you get Facebook yet? Neighbors, hey, did you buy Facebook? What about Bitcoin? You buy that yet? And what do? We all go buy it, and we buy it high. And then what do when it goes down? We sell it. We get rid of it. Don't do that. And rebalancing is an easy way that you can do buying or selling high and buying low. How many times should we reallocate or rebalance our 401k? I suggest once a year. Just make sure it's the same day or the same time, your anniversary, your birthday, whatever day of the year it is, that same day every year. If you're a little bit more aggressive, twice a year. Do not day trade your 401k account. Or you'd be surprised about some of the people we've ran into that try to do that. If you're not going to rebalance, you're not going to pick out the individual funds and then rebalance once a year, where should you put your 401k investments? Into the target date funds. So you do have target date funds available to you as well. Okay. When you get to your 60s and 70s, living as a retiree, now we got to start considering live-in assistants, nursing homes, play hooky from work forever. Now you're into the make my day mode. Want to set up a college fund for a granddaughter, grandson, want to help my children with their expenses. I am suddenly single, want to visit Australia. So now the challenges come, how will I make my money last? So I've spent my whole life accumulating, saving. And now I have this nest egg. I walk out the doors here at Dish and I'm retired. I'm not working for a paycheck anymore. I've got to figure out how I make this nest egg last. How will your medical costs be covered? Right? Are medical costs going up or down? Always going up. So we have to have a plan so how we're going to cover those medical costs and those increasing medical costs. Social Security, pensions, retirement plans, other assets, personal savings, life insurance, property. Social Security. Who's heard about Social Security in the news? All the time, right? And what do we usually hear about Social Security? What's that? It's running out. It's bad. I mean, it's usually some sort of pessimistic news about Social Security. What if I told you they're all wrong? Social Security, if used the correct way, is the most efficient form of retirement income you're going to see. The challenge with Social Security is that people think that it's going to replace 60, 70, 80% of their retirement income. And when you look at the history of Social Security, how it was created, how it's maintained, how it's ran, it is supposed to replace 40% maximum of your retirement income, usually closer to 20 to 30%. So Social Security is not the problem. It's how Social Security is misused and misrepresented by us. We depend on it too highly is one of the biggest challenges with Social Security. Social Security, when you used to, they used to mail out the statements, right? Our Social Security statements, they'd mail them to us. It was like right around our birthday or 3 months after our birthday, something weird like that. Thankfully, they've stopped doing that to save money, right? You can now get your Social Security statement online at ssa.gov. And this is a little precursor into tomorrow. But when you leave here, go and do that. Go and download your Social Security statement. When they used to mail them to us, what did they say in the first couple sentences on that first page? What was kind of the gist of the letter? It said right in there, and I forget the exact dates, but it said, in the year 2047, Social Security will only be able to pay out 50 cents on the dollar. So it told you right on there. So for us, wanting to retire in 2047, you're like, oh, great. It's great. When you go and download your statements, read that first page. And what you'll find is that's been removed. That's been removed from that statement because there's been interest rate hikes and interest rate adjustments that have now more than fully funded our Social Security program out into the next century. So it will be there. In what way, shape, or form, we don't know. I think a lot of the pessimistic news comes from our politicians. And why do they want to do that? Because they want to show you how they saved Social Security.